Hey everybody, Naturalist David Mizejewski with the National Wildlife Federation, and here are my 5 tips on how to garden for wildlife. Number 1, provide natural sources of food. And the way that you do that is by planting lots of native plants. Native plants are just the plant species that naturally are found in your region, and they're adapted to the local soil and the weather and the climate and the wildlife. In fact, they're the plants that wildlife co-evolved with and that they need to survive. So fill your yard with lots of blooming native wildflowers, trees, and shrubs, and you'll go a long way to providing a natural food source for all sorts of wildlife. Native plants also support insects, which are wildlife in and of themselves, but those insects are an important food source for animals higher up the food chain, like songbirds. So you want to actually attract a lot of insects to your wildlife garden, and that's an important food source. Number 2, provide a water source. Now, you might be lucky enough to live next to a pond or a lake or a river, and those are fantastic natural water sources. You might also have a big water garden on your property, which will attract, wading birds, aquatic frogs, things like that. But all you really need to do is provide water with a bird bath. Any shallow dish will do. Anything less than 3 inches will work for a bird bath. You just want to dump it out every few days to keep mosquitoes from breeding in it, and it's going to be a great little water source for songbirds and other small animals. Number 3, you want to provide a source of cover. Wildlife need places to hide from predators, or if they're predators, they need places to hide from their prey so they can get a meal. Wildlife also need places to get out of the bad weather, whether it's high heat, cold temperatures, wind, rain, or whatever. The great news is that those same native plants that are going to provide a food source are going to be a place where wildlife find cover. Just plant them densely, just like you see out in nature, and they're going to provide great hiding places for all sorts of animals. Number 4, provide places to raise young. Wildlife need the resources in order to create the next generation and keep their populations healthy. So again, the same native plants that are going to provide food and cover, again, if you plant them densely, will be great places for birds to build nests, for mammals to dig burrows under, and you'll provide a great place to raise young that way. You also want to remember that some animals have different needs in their juvenile phase of life. So think about a frog. It starts out as a tadpole that needs a pond in order to grow up in. So if you want to support amphibians by giving them a place to raise young, you do want to have some kind of pond or water garden in your yard. The other great example are butterflies. They start out life as caterpillars, which have a completely different habitat need than the adult butterflies. Instead of drinking flower nectar like adult butterflies, caterpillars feed on the leaves of just a certain number of plants that are specific to their species, and we call those host plants. So if you factor in those elements, you're going to provide a great place for wildlife to reproduce and keep their species going. And number 5, you want to do what we call sustainable gardening. And that just means gardening in a natural way that doesn't rely on pesticides, that you want to practice organic gardening techniques, you want to minimize the size of your lawn, conserve water, and things like that make the environmental footprint of your garden as small as it can be. And I guarantee you, if you follow those 5 things, you're going to create a garden space that not only is beautiful, but it's going to be part of the local ecosystem and really help out amazing wildlife species that could really use our help right now. They're also the 5 things that you can do if you want to earn certified wildlife habitat status for your yard or your garden from the National Wildlife Federation. You can find out a lot more about all of this with my book, which is called Attracting Birds, Butterflies, and Other Backyard Wildlife, or by visiting the National Wildlife Federation's Garden for Wildlife website at nwf.org/garden.